Don't know what I'm doing. Hey! Yay, people! Hello! I'm in my new favorite jumper, which has a lot of food on it. I have my purple hair. Thank you! It's faded a lot in the last few days, so this is pretty much the original color here. And this is what most of it is now, kind of silvery. I'm good. I filmed a couple of videos today, so they're hopefully going up in the next couple of weeks. I thought I'd reuse all my makeup. Hi! Alright, so first question, can I please talk about the importance of home care? I'm not really an expert in like clinical care, I guess, but I've been told that home care is maybe about 20% or 1/3, according to what they think. I don't know, I think there's a lot to be said for a consistent routine for sure. I do have purple brows, yes. I thought it was only natural if I've got purple hair, I should have purple brows as well. Yeah, so home care, pretty important, I think, especially sunscreen. Hello. Hi, Spicy Brown Sugar. I like your name. Waiting after applying actives, there isn't really firm research on this. I think a lot of people think that waiting will help with like not disturbing the pH afterwards, and also I guess maybe keeping more of the active ingredient on your skin. Hey Mel! I think that's where it comes from. There's no real research behind it, so I reckon what you should probably do is just like put it on and wait, and then maybe after a week try not putting it on and putting it on and not waiting, and then see if it makes a difference. And yeah, I think it's just really trial and error. Alcohol. So you guys might know kind of Steven, who is a cosmetic chemist, and he also does lots of skincare based science on Instagram and on his blog as well. We've actually recorded a podcast on alcohol and skin. My friend Rose has kindly edited it for us, and that should be coming out soon-ish, because she's done a really good job. We're just trying to find intro music, so if anyone has suggestions for intro music, please send them our way. And yeah, so we'll try to get that up ASAP. How do I feel about microneedling? I haven't really looked that much into microneedling. It's been on my research list for ages. I will definitely get around to it because I've tried it a little bit on my own skin already. Yeah, I think if it's done right, it seems pretty promising. Is vitamin C still active as an antioxidant if it's oxidized? Again, that's a bit of a mixed bag. It looks like at least it isn't harmful, but whether or not it's active, there is one company that I know of who have supposedly got data saying that the oxidized version does work on skin, or at least it's beneficial, maybe in a different way. Yeah, no one knows, but yeah. What vitamin C serum would I recommend that you can buy in Australia? Well, I personally really like DIY serum. So DIY serum, you get some L-ascorbic acid from somewhere like iHerb. I have a recipe on my blog. You pretty much just mix it with water and baking soda, sorry. You mix it until it's the right pH, and then you just apply it to your skin. You chuck it out after about a week or two because it's too oxidized. Yeah, it doesn't really need a preservative because the pH is low enough that it pretty much is sort of like vinegar. It will be acidic enough that microbes just won't grow. And also you're chucking it out in 2 weeks anyway. And I found that DIY serum actually works the best, and you can make that anywhere. In terms of ready-made ones, there's one by Osceuticals that's really good, and I think they're based in Perth, which is in Australia. Their recipe is pretty much the same as, or it's sort of got the CE ferulic combo. There's also Skin Diva that I reviewed a bit earlier, and that's also really, really inexpensive. I think the shipping might take a while to Australia though. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to look through this phone to try to scroll back up and find some questions that might have been asked earlier. I really should have set this up earlier. If it's worth getting adapalene, I'm not actually sure. I haven't really looked into all the different retinoids yet, and again, that's another thing that's been on my to-post list. I reckon I believe from memory, adapalene's best for acne and treating acne scars. I think Stephen's posted about how you can use it to treat atrophic acne scars. I think for adapalene, the anti-aging benefits aren't really well studied, unlike things like tretinoin. So yeah, if you're trying to treat acne, I think it's a really good choice. Brightening pigmentation. I have a video on brightening pigmentation, and in it I talk about all my favorite active ingredients. I think the best things are probably sunscreen. So sunscreen that's got good UVA protection, I think is really, really important. Both in my experience and like in the literature as well. Vitamin C and AHAs can help as well. And my favorite of those is lactic acid. Facial massage. I have mixed feelings about facial massage. On one hand, I think temporarily it's really good for making your face look better because it pushes out the lymph. But I think in the long run, it's possible that you might be traumatizing your skin. So when you get older, one thing that tends to happen is that some of your layers of skin tend to get more fragile, and so they tend to like get a bit unstuck. And so if you're in that category, like tugging and pulling at your skin might not be so good. So I have mixed feelings on it. I think if you go gently, it should be fine. Fading acne scars, again, I have a video on that. And yeah, if you're talking about post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, it's the same things as fading pigmentation, so sunscreen, vitamin C, AHAs. There's a few other things as well, like licorice. There's an ingredient in licorice that starts with G, and I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's like glyphosate or something. Yeah, there's a few other things that aren't coming to my head right now, but yeah, it's in the video somewhere. My opinion on polyethylene. I don't have a strong opinion on polyethylene. I don't really know that much about how well it decomposes and what the effects in the environment are. In terms of plastic microbeads, they're not great, but compared to things like synthetic fibers, it isn't a huge issue. There was actually recently a paper on that got retracted, which was about how it accumulated in fish, but there is other bad evidence as well, or other evidence that it's bad for fish, so it's still not like completely fine, but I think just try to cut down on it. Yeah, in terms of the mountain cleansers, I'm not sure, and I don't know how much research there is on that, unfortunately. Can you layer chemical sunscreens with the new filters with mineral zinc oxide based ones? Layering sunscreens, it's always a little bit questionable. I mean, layering anything on top of sunscreen is always going to be a little bit shaky. Sorry, because the way that sunscreens are tested are just in a layer on your skin. They put it on the skin, usually with like a glove, basically a glove. They put the right amount and then they shine light on it, and that's the only way it's tested. They don't put things on it, over it, under it. Yeah, so there's no guarantee that if you put something on top of or under the sunscreen, that'll still work. But from all the evidence, all the real world studies, it looks like it does. Yeah, so in terms of layering sunscreens, I think in most cases, it shouldn't be that much different from layering other products over it. Yeah, so layering products over it, it's going to remove a bit of the underneath layer, so it could potentially not work as well. But I think generally it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. Thoughts on 7-layer method? I haven't personally tried it. If you have more water on your skin, it does tend to be more permeable. So I think if you have easily irritated skin, if you have sensitive skin, maybe 7 layers might irritate your skin more than having a few less layers, plus you're touching it and like you might be like disturbing your skin a bit as well. I think also it might just be a little bit of a waste of money if your toner is expensive. If you can afford it, then of course, yeah, go ahead and try it. Yeah, I think there are more efficient ways of getting the same ingredients on your skin. All right, what other things are there? Oh, I can't scroll up that far. Oh dear. Best facial oil without causing breakouts. The things that cause breakouts, it's different for everyone. So far, I've never broken out with any cleansing oil. So I think it's really a case of tracking what breaks out your skin and trying to get a good guess of what may or may not break out your skin personally. Yeah, so it really depends on your skin. I personally use Shiumira cleansing oil. I've used Simple cleansing oil. I've recently started using Frank cleansing oil as well, and Gerlique as well, and none of them have broken out my skin. But yeah, I know a lot of people break out from oils. I'm not one of them, so yeah, it depends on your skin. I will definitely save this live and I will post it probably on both IGTV and on YouTube. I think I can't really scroll back up to the really early ones on this second phone, unfortunately. So if you sent me a question at the very beginning, maybe send it again. Is it safe to use cleansing oil if you have acne? Yeah, again, it depends on your skin, but generally there isn't like a set don't use it sort of thing. Sun cream for oily skin. For my oily skin, I like the Ultraceuticals one. I like the Can Make mermaid gel, although I think it is a little bit light, so it might shift around if your skin is quite oily and if you're sweaty as well. I personally don't really like using mineral filters, so things like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, because my skin it looks quite light here, but it's quite yellow, and so if I have a lighter thing here and a darker thing here, generally I'm really bad. I put sunscreen mostly on my face, and I tend to ignore my neck a little bit, so it's a little bit darker. So if I put a white thing on my face, it gets, like, the contrast gets even worse. So I try to avoid zinc oxide, plus I don't like the texture. But the best one I've tried that is a physical filter is, sorry, Stephen. I know kind of Stephen gets really, really upset about this. Well, not upset, he just gets really salty. Sunsense. So the Sunsense one has been the most comfortable one so far. Oh yeah, other oily skin sunscreens I like. It's quite annoying because in Australia we get a lot of different sunscreens from the rest of the world. So most of the ones I've been trying are Australian. So I also like the Natio one, which is called Daily Defense. There's a Mecca one that I quite like. I think it's the SPF 50 plus to save face. I've also been trying the Coles and the Woolworths ones. Coles and Woolworths are like the supermarkets that everyone goes to. They're apparently slightly evil, but they do have sunscreens, and the Woolworths one actually has zinc oxide and I think it was Tinosorb S. So I was actually really impressed by the fact that they put in a Tinosorb, which is one of the newer filters, which is a bit more expensive, into their sunscreen, and that one was actually quite nice as well. I really want to try more international sunscreens though. I've gotten so many recommendations. I just haven't had the time and money to try it yet. Oh yeah, so polyethylene, I don't know if it's fine, unfortunately. I would suspect that it's not great. Do you need as much sunscreen for darker skin? Depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to prevent skin cancer, then you can probably use a bit less. It's a bit hard to say. So there are studies that show that if you use less sunscreen, you just get less SPF protection. But there's also people or scientists who suggest that if you use less sunscreen, what happens is because your skin's really bumpy, if you don't use enough sunscreen, you might not fill up like the valleys, and so the tops of your skin might not get anywhere near enough protection, and so those bits might be more prone to cancer. So it's always safest to use 2 milligrams per centimeter squared, but dark skin does tend to get cancer a bit less. But on the other hand, darker skin, they tend to catch cancer on darker skin later. So it tends to be a bit more serious. So it's up to you. There's no hard and fast rules on how much sunscreen you need to use and stuff like that. Yeah, it depends how paranoid you are. Depends if you're trying to fade hyperpigmentation as well. Serum under eye area. Generally, yeah. Yeah. There's no like massive reason why you can't. There's a risk of milia, which is the little, they're these little like clogged bits that are really hard to get rid of. I personally get quite a few sometimes, and digging them out is probably not something I should be doing at home. Yeah, so if you try it and you don't get milia, then yeah. And if you don't get irritation as well, that area also tends to cause irritation. Is it safe to only use micellar water as the first cleanser, or do you have to use oil cleanser too after that? Depends on what you've got on your skin. So I think one of the things that people tend to forget about skin isn't just like a flat layer that you can completely clean. The structure of skin is there's lots and lots of little cells, so keratinocytes. They're like little cells. Oh, actually, I've got one. Let me dig him out. This guy. All right, so you have these little keratinocytes, and they're kind of like flattened bricks, or little rectangle or hexagonal brick. And then in between them, you have all this oil. So it's almost like they used to call it like a brick and mortar sort of structure, except it's all really flexy. And so there's actually oil in between the cells, and it's meant to be there. It's called intracellular lipids. And so if you have that stuff, like when you're cleaning your skin, you generally want to not clean it that well, because that stuff's important. It sticks all these cells together. If you wash it too much, then all these cells start like flaking off and going who knows where. Well, down the sink. And that's how you get flaky, dry skin. Yeah, props. Yeah, I can claim it back in tax. Shouldn't have said that on record. But I am using it. Okay, yeah, so you don't really want to wash all of that off. There's also the layer of sebum on top as well, which is part of what's called the, oh crap, what's it called? The acid thing. Acid mantle, that's it. The acid mantle on top. And so all of that's really important in keeping your whole skin intact and protecting it from things like microbes, from evaporating water, so from water getting out, from other things going in like irritants. And so if you just wash your skin too much, you disturb this layer a lot and then stuff leaves. So in terms of like how well you need to clean, you don't really need to like clean everything off your skin. What probably happens during the day is your moisturizers, your makeup, all of that, some of that sinks into that layer and mixes with the stuff. And so like getting it out, you don't really want to get it out because it's got like, it's stuff you like and it's probably fine in there. It's probably not that much in there. So in terms of whether or not it's enough cleanser, I guess it's really a matter of checking if you break out afterwards. If you break out because you've got makeup left on your skin, then you need a stronger cleanser. Another thing I like to do is I like to check if like the surface stuff is gone. So I get a cotton pad, I wet it with toner, and then I wipe it over my skin. And if I see that it's got, it's makeup colored, or if it's got a bit of dirt on it, then I know I want to cleanse a little bit more. But you don't really need to be like squeaky clean. You don't need to be worry about getting every last trace of sunscreen or makeup off. It's probably fine on there. You're so lazy to check out ingredients. I used to be like that as well. But now that I've read it enough, I find that I kind of know what all the words are most of the time. Sometimes there's still stuff I need to check, I need to look up. I'm sure that that's the case for like everyone except maybe like cosmetic chemists who have done tons and tons of formulation. But yeah, after a while you get used to the more common ingredients and it won't be so hard, I promise. Favorite anti-aging skincare product apart from sunscreen? Tretinoin, I think. Tretinoin definitely has the most evidence behind it, and I've only just started using it, but I already see that these bits just look really, really good. Like it still looks like skin, which is nice, but it does look really like, I think the word that people tend to use is like luminous. So I put a bit of highlighter on there and it's just like, pooh. Yeah, so tretinoin is my current favorite, but it does tend to dry out your skin a whole bunch. And again, I'm planning to do a video on how I started on tretinoin and all the tips I have. Yeah, it's on the list. Yeah, just time. Best ingredients to tackle lines under the eye. Probably all the anti-aging ones, sunscreen, tretinoin. Also, if your skin's dehydrated or dry, it tends to wrinkle up a bit more, so maybe moisturizers, so try that as well. Yeah. Does light therapy work on acne? Neutrogena released a mask and a stick thing. I have the mask thing. I still haven't gotten around to using it. Does light therapy work? The evidence looks like it's like a bit mixed. The thing about light is there's tons and tons of wavelengths. It goes from like 400 nanometers, which is purple, to 700 nanometers, and that's just visible light. So there's been blue light therapy, which mostly kills bacteria. There's been red light therapy, which I think is meant to be regenerative. So in terms of does light work, it really depends on which wavelengths. The other thing is a lot of different instruments, they use different amounts of light, so they use different wavelengths, but they also tend to use like a range of wavelengths. And so it's really hard to look at the evidence and compare different studies, or read a study and then compare that to whatever machine you're using. The safest thing is to find a study that's on the exact machine that your dermatologist has. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to say, and I am planning to work on a post on that as well. Yeah, but it can work, I think. Essential oils and skincare, good or bad? Depends on the oil. So tea tree oil can be antibacterial if it's diluted. They do tend to be irritating and they can be allergenic as well. So a lot of people are allergic to them. If your skin isn't sensitive to them, then it's probably fine. Yeah. Do I avoid silicone and SLS when choosing hair shampoo? I've recently started avoiding SLS because my scalp does tend to be a bit dry, and I'm starting to think, well, I used to, because my scalp is pretty oily, I tend to get oily roots, and so I really liked using harsh shampoos. But then I thought about it a bit more, and I'm like, I would never use SLS on, well, I tend not to use SLS on my face, and I used to, I think it's probably still fine, but my skin is really dehydration prone. So SLS tends to leave it really dehydrated, and even using tons of glycerin doesn't really help with that. So I started thinking, if I'm not using it on my skin, but I'm using it on my scalp, maybe that's why my scalp is tight and itchy, like my face used to be when I didn't know how to look after my dehydrated skin. So I started avoiding SLS because of that. And I found that my scalp has slowly adjusted to it. Yeah, so I still don't use that because I don't want to dehydrate a scalp. In terms of what it does to hair, I haven't looked into that much. For silicones, at the moment I've been trying to avoid it because with my hair, when I got it bleached, they used Olaplex on it to make sure it didn't break off, which is great. So underneath the purple, it's actually like white. And so I've got the Olaplex 3 treatment, which is meant to repair the bonds in hair. I have a video on Olaplex coming out. I finished filming it today. Thank you, Cosmic Lotus Eater. Yeah, so because I'm using that treatment, it needs to get into the hair, and silicones tend to form a layer over the hair. So I'm trying to avoid using silicones as much as possible so that the Olaplex has a chance to sink in. Personally, I found that using silicones, I think it depends on your hair a lot. So there's a shampoo that that works really well on my hair, and I know it works really well on other people's hair. and it's the Dove Rich Repair, I think. Some deep repair, something like that. And it's got, the conditioner has silicones in it, but it tends to be a bit light, so it doesn't feel like it's like a coating over dehydrated or dry hair. And so my sister, for example, uses it every time she conditions her hair, and her hair is gorgeous and long and strong and undamaged, and I am super jealous. So I think it can work for some people, doesn't work for others, depends on the formula. Getting out of a skincare rut, when you stopped everything and want to get back into it. So, is it like more of an emotional rut, or is it like your skin just doesn't like things, I guess? Are antioxidants that oxidize on your face harmful because they form free radicals? Not really. So antioxidants tend not to form free radicals, which is why they're antioxidants. Yeah. They're like, most things do like to form free radicals. Antioxidants are on the lower end of the scheme. Yeah. My opinion on Drunk Elephant, I'm going to review them. I saw that Carolyn Hirons recently reviewed them as well, and I kind of agree with her. Love the products. Most of the products are great, maybe a little bit overpriced. Marketing blag. Very oily nose area. When moisturizing my skin, I look like a piece of pork. Oh, I'm sorry. Pork. I think really check out my video on oily skin tips. That might help. And I think the main things are check if your skin's dehydrated. If you fix the dehydration, then it sinks in. I find that products sink into your skin more easily, and you end up looking less oily overall. Cleansing oils recommended for dry skin. Oils attract oils and can dry out skin. Oils can attract oils, but yeah, I guess oils attract oils. Yeah, okay, oils attract oils, but oils also repel water. So when you put the oil on your skin and you just have like plain oil, let's say you just put like sunflower oil on your skin and you try to wash that off with water, the water won't wash it off because there's nothing to help the water combine with the oil and pull it off. So cleansing oils, what they have is oil plus a surfactant. So the surfactant is sort of like oil and polar stuff all in one. So it's like an end that likes oil and an end that likes water, which is why I can pull off some of the oil. So the oily bit, the oil end holds on to the oil, the water end goes away. Normal cleansers have surfactant with maybe no oil or a tiny bit of oil compared to cleansing oils. And so overall, cleansing oils tend to leave more oil in your skin, if that makes sense, hopefully. Oil cleansing on dry sensitive skin, depends on the oil cleanser, depends on the cleanser, but generally I think it's okay. Should you wear sunscreen on a long flight? Depends on what your skincare goals are. Generally I think I personally do, so I treat it just like if I'm having a day next to a window. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, if you're wearing daily sunscreen, having a bit more UV when you're up in the air where there's more UV, having a few hours of that probably isn't a massive deal in the great scheme of things. Yeah. Oh, yay! Crimson and Clover loves the Daily Defense. Excellent. Copper peptides, are they really that great? What does the research say about them? I need to look that up again. I can't remember exactly that much about it, but I think I wrote about it in the review I did of NIOD. Hormonal pigmentation. So is that things like melasma? I think most of the time, if it's like really stubborn pigmentation that's out of the norm, so not like post-inflammatory, I think your best bet is to see a dermatologist about that. What's the deal with